Hi, I'm Jazz and I'm an alcoholic and I'm codependent. I work a 12-step program and I seek health. I am a seeker and a traveler in my journey. I used to think that people with a lot of time meant, like time in the program, meant that they were trustworthy. I used to think that age meant that you were trustworthy. I did not have a lot of trust in myself or my higher power yet, and I was figuring out like who trustworthy people are, and I keep getting burned by untrustworthy people, and I keep getting let down, and I'm just so I can't understand, and don't they see, and how can they do this? And so I'm learning about trustworthy people. And I used to think, if you've got decades of recovery under your belt, then you know everything. I would just assume that for people. And I created that illusion. And I don't believe that just because you have decades of recovery that you know everything. I will watch the person and I will see what they show me. And people show you a lot with what they ask questions about, what their priorities are, what they value, what their focus is, how they treat themselves. I've noticed that people really show you who they are, and it's up to me if I want to believe what they're showing me. And I've because I'm getting more trust in myself, I'm figuring this stuff out. So this woman in my past taught me some great lessons about trustworthy people. And so I rush into intimacy too quickly. I become her friend fast, and I tell her too much stuff too quickly. And she's not my sponsor, but she's got decades of recovery under her belt. And so I assume that she's trustworthy and knows stuff. And she has that vibe, like superior, knows everything, very righteous, and aggressive, and very into image. And so all of the picture that I saw was a person higher up, a person that really looked like they had it together, and had the years, like had nice stuff, and so I looked at it with glamorous eyes, and I judged that situation by face value. And at that time, that's what I thought trust was. And what started happening was, as we would have these dealings or interactions or transactions, things started to not really line up. This person was often frustrated and often late, and would say things and then not follow through. And then there was some extremes started popping up, some black and white thinking, and just weird behaviors. Like it's my fault for sharing stuff, but this was a learning experience for me. So this is what I thought was odd, because I started questioning my mind, like, it's weird that someone with this many decades of recoveries is acting this way. Like, things didn't make sense. So I'm like, the garbage is left outside and it's getting late, and that's fine. So my concern was just like, is someone going to get it before we all fall asleep. It's got to be her or it's got to be me. But I was inquiring just like what to do about it, and no pressure. It just sort of, I had to have the conversation. So I message her, and then she gives me this huge excuse, and oh sorry, and I was just gonna get it, and you know what, next time I won't even get it. I'm just gonna leave it in the kitchen, and I won't even bother taking the garbage out next time. Like I didn't mean to leave it there. Like, and she got really upset and offended by me just saying, hey, I'm sorry about the garbage. Like, do you want to take it or me take it? Because I was really worried about raccoons. And if she was going to deal with it, that'd be cool. I just needed to kind of get that, like, yeah, she knew about it. It wasn't forgotten, because it had been sitting out there for probably 4 hours. And now it's 10 o'clock at night. So to me, it warranted the conversation. So she went extreme. And I thought, when someone is in a bit more of, if someone's working away from that perfectionism, I would think that it would be a little bit more chill, and it would just be, yeah, I was going to get it, or hey, I'm tied up. If you want to get it, you can get it. Like, there could be some collaboration, there could be some compromise, there could be some unity, because I wasn't threatening her, or I wasn't giving her an ultimatum. I really wasn't thinking of it as like a very big deal. I just didn't want to be the one to deal with raccoon garbage the next day. So anyways, this was one of these first signs I noticed about this. And so it's extreme, right? It went all the way to like, she felt so upset, and then went all the way to next time I'll just leave it in the kitchen. Like she was mad that she even thought, like, she took it really personally. And this, I said to someone was, she just intimidates me. And they were like, no one can intimidate you. You feel intimidated. So I did this feelings course. So I've really learned how to try to keep it about like myself, and talk about those feelings are my feelings. No one's making me feel that, but I'm feeling intimidated. So it's very scary now because of that black and white thinking. The little conversation kind of got really big, and now I'm like, trying to handle these situations with her with kid gloves. So now it's like the eggshells are starting, and I don't know how to tiptoe around without her thinking that regular communication is me yelling at her. And so she's showing me where she's at in her recovery. And I guess I started to lose some faith and question, what all of this superiority and seniority and your years in recovery shows me, that you still can be in a program for a long time, but have not worked the program or have not changed things. A person, just because someone has worked it for so long doesn't mean that they're better or they're better. And so I'm in this other program, and I'm watching this, and it helps me to learn about trustworthy people, because the behaviors and the words, those are going to tell me more things than if someone's got 30 years in recovery, or 10 years. Like, are they doing what they say? Are they going to extremes? Are they really aggressive? Like, I really look at what the person is showing me now. And I also don't show all my cards right away either. I go slowly, and so I do really appreciate the time that I knew this person, because it showed me about untrustworthy people. And it was also, I learned some boundary stuff with this person. And I remember I made another mistake. I told them too much stuff about my relationship too early without knowing that they were trustworthy, because I just kind of went with the face value without giving it time and without making a decision for myself. I just sort of like bought the item off the shelf without thinking. And so, that's my behavior of being impulsive. So I'm believing her that she's this trustworthy person now because of the way she presents herself. And I'm learning that maybe it's not so true. And I tell her something deep. And then what happens is I'm in the home and it becomes this girls against guy scenario where she's whispering things under her breath. And I really wanted to help my relationship. I wasn't looking to make an enemy in my relationship or team up against my partner. And my program was training me not to focus on the negative things that people do, but to be focusing on the better way that I can be. And so then I'm stuck in I'm in this situation where, oh my gosh, I've told this person too much and they're in my house and this is totally backfiring. And now I have to live with this decision. So what I did is I pulled back a little, and I was embarrassed, and I didn't explain myself because I'm not supposed to explain myself and justify myself in coda. I pulled back a little. She probably felt that pullback, but I couldn't risk exposing any more deep and intimate details about myself. I learned my lesson, and because it wasn't my intention to team up against my partner, it was against what I thought. I want to figure things out and work together. So anyways, that really did teach me a lesson just about being careful who I talk to and taking time and not just trusting people just because they have loads of time. They're, if they are giving me lots of advice, I think that's a red flag. And if it's coming out in a snarky way, and I almost felt like I was on the playground again, and I didn't find it helpful towards trying to repair my relationship. And I thought I was speaking. It would have been different if they never said anything again about it, if our conversation sort of just stayed in our conversation. But it seemed that the conversation leaked into the house after and around that person. And then, I was feeling like I was just freaked out that they were going to overhear some of these not so nice comments. And so I was just like freaked out by the entire thing. But that was something that happened that taught me a bit about trustworthy people. And so now, with have gotten a little bit of trust in myself, it does help me to see who trustworthy people are and I go a lot slower. So that was I started to so she's untrustworthy. And I've now, I see the black and white thinking, I see the untrustworthiness. And then sure enough, I have to set a boundary with this person, which is like another scary thing to do, especially with someone that I'm very intimidated by, that things are not going so well. And I have to set this boundary with this person. And I gave her own fridge, and I have my own fridge. And I was scared. She started putting lots of things into my fridge. This sounds so small, but it's an interesting story. I have kids, I have lunches, I have jugs of milk, jugs of water. Like, my fridge is full. So this person keeps putting her jugs in my fridge. And she's got like 4 jugs. And I'm like thinking, I'm watching this happen, and I'm scared, and I'm not saying anything, and I'm not doing anything because I'm scared to set a boundary, because I'm scared of this person. I'm scared. I'm intimidated. I'm freaked out. I don't know how this is going to go. If I even talk to them, they're probably going to fly off the handle. Like, I'm in a tricky situation because I'm living with them. And so what I did is, I was too scared to say, could you please put your milk in your fridge? So I made a mistake, and I went and bought her a bigger fridge. And I still think, even though I caved and did the wrong thing, I probably should have just told her to put her milk in her fridge. I wasn't strong enough at the time. And I went and I caved, and I went, oh my God, to my sponsor. Like, she didn't ask for help. She didn't ask for a bigger fridge. She didn't ask to put the milk in my fridge. Those would have been things that a healthy person probably should have done. And then me, so I went and got the fridge without someone asking me for help or asking me to fill that need. I went and provided that need, which is, if they didn't ask, that's kind of a codependent trait. So I go and I do this, and I can't believe I did it. And as I bought the fridge, I regretted the choice that I made, but now I made the choice. And now we have this second other fridge in the house. And when I bought it and I told her about it, not that I needed her to approve of it, but she went, oh, well, that's nice. Well, that'd be nice. And she gave me some snarky attitude comment about the better fridge that she had for herself, because I was trying to go about fixing this problem in a compliant, non-confrontational way to keep everything calm and settled, and to not ruffle any feathers, because I was scared and intimidated. I was, so that experience of just, she is the way she is, and she's on her journey. But all of these things taught me so much about untrustworthiness. And I would probably never have, if this situation ever happened again today, I would have just said, can you please move your milk, your stuff back in your fridge? And if you do not wish to do this, then I'm going to have to give you notice to leave or something. Like, the contract can be broken. Like, I have to give some kind of consequence for what they choose to do. This would be the outcome, A or B, if you choose this or that. So that's my part. Is I had my feelings. In this situation, I went about it with the fridge. I went about it not the best way, but it taught me, I wish I could have not gotten that big silly fridge for them, especially because she wasn't really grateful. It was an entitled reaction, and which makes sense because of the superiority that she showed me. And yeah, I don't want to give myself to places that don't value me, and I don't believe that I was valued I don't need her to value me, but I don't need to give myself in places that, the other side doesn't appreciate. That's my choice, where I give my time and energy. And as this situation, it was a short-lived time. I just thought it was so interesting to watch someone in decades of recovery be so irritated and spinning around and moving here, moving there, oh, I'm just so broke, but driving an hour out of town to get a coffee. And I just thought it was the strangest thing, because it just shows me that people are in their own denial and people don't see what they are. And for me, I have to see what I am. I have to work on figuring out the truth, because there's things that I see, there's things that the public sees, there's things that my family sees, there's things I don't know, there's my blind spot. I need truth tellers. I need support. I need, I've always picked sponsors that would tell me the truth, and because I didn't want to be caught out in the cold like that. I don't want to be ruining. I don't want to be, I just want to be putting better steps ahead of me, my best foot forward, doing the right thing, the best that I can. And it means doing the hard stuff. Starting to learn who trustworthy people are was nerve-wracking, and having to, even having to think about making that boundary about as simple as putting your milk back in the other fridge. This person, because of her reactions, I guess, which is probably linked to childhood, I was really scared of her reactions and tiptoeing around it. And that made the boundary way harder, because I didn't know how she was going to take it. I was scared because of the unknown of how she was going to take it. So, so I'm a bit better at handling people's reactions now, but I started there. That was one of those stories where I really started with more boundary work. And as I make more boundaries and as I let people have their feelings and reactions, it doesn't sting as long. So, I know that the sting is coming, and it doesn't mean that I'm wrong or I should change my mind. It just means that's just a part of it. Making a boundary, it's just, there's going to be some flack for it. Not everyone's going to like it. I don't need to sit there and prove how great my boundary is for me and that I need it and it's important. I don't do anything. I say my bit for me, and then I say it could be this result or that result, what you choose to do about my boundary. That time I had to make a boundary with someone parking on the street, instead of coming all the way into the parking lot where there's lots of kids. I was prepared that if they weren't going to even stay on the street, I was just going to maybe start going to their house to pick up the kids. I had some plans. So I make my boundary, I got to reinforce it, and then maybe I got to change it up and reinforce it in a different way. But it's my job, and the other person is not always going to be on board with it, and they don't have to like it or agree with it or be happy about it. They're not going to be happy about it, most likely. So now that I am not getting so close to untrustworthy people, less of these situations happen where I have to be in these really scary moments to set a boundary. I'm not around that many untrustworthy people now, because I've got some knowing of who who is trustworthy. And it's a lot easier to work with people like that. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be in situations where I have to deal with people that are untrustworthy. I just don't give it all away. I don't say everything. I'm more careful. I have to be more careful of what comes out and what I say and what I tell and what I put on tasks for people that are like that. I have to really believe what I'm seeing. And sometimes I even have to really talk that out with a friend. Am I seeing this the right way? Am I seeing this correctly? Because sometimes I don't even see it correctly. I have to get some help with how I'm seeing stuff. So I don't take all of my own thinking and everything that I see as exactly the way it is. I put it through a filter most of the time, 90% of the time. So that's really helped me not get into more sticky situations. I can avoid them a bit better now. So I hope that helps some people. Thank you.